Welcome back to the Foundry by Forge College. So, if you are with us for our last explainer on validating full transactions end-to-end, you successfully practiced parsing, executing scripts, and verifying signatures. You basically learned how to act like the strict bouncer at the velvet rope of the Bitcoin network. But here's the kicker. Just because your transaction is dressed nicely and on the guest list doesn't actually mean it's getting inside quickly. Today, we're shifting our focus from the strict black and white rules of protocol validation over to the dynamic and, honestly sometimes wild, world of block inclusion economics. We are talking all about fee estimation and its critical role in value transfer.
All right, here's our game plan for today. We'll quickly cover validity versus block inclusion, then dive into the package tunnel metaphor. After that, we're calculating your fee rate, navigating the fee market, fixing stuck transactions, and we'll wrap it all up with our key takeaways. Let's get right into it. Section 1, validity versus block inclusion. Or, as I like to call it, can it happen versus when will it happen?
So there are really two totally different hurdles your transaction has to clear. First up, on the left, is validation. Think of this as a hard and fast protocol rule. It's simply asking, can this spend actually happen? If your math adds up, the signatures check out, and the cryptography is flawless, you get that green check mark. Boom. But on the right, we have inclusion. And this is not binary at all. It's this dynamic, hyper-competitive economic game that asks, okay, sure, but when will this spend happen? That gap between getting a green checkmark and beating that orange clock is exactly why understanding fee estimation is an absolute must for anyone operating in Web3.
Moving on to Section 2, the package tunnel metaphor. Let's talk about mempools and miners.
Think of the Bitcoin network's mempool as this massive, slightly chaotic loading dock. Every single valid package gets dropped off right here. They're all taped up, totally verified, ready to go, but they aren't actually going anywhere just yet. They're essentially just sitting there in a waiting room completely at the mercy of the miners. You see, the miners control this finite tunnel that leads directly to the blockchain, and roughly every 10 minutes or so, they open the doors to that tunnel.
Now, you might be wondering, well, why don't they just take every single package on the dock? It's because that tunnel has a strict, completely unyielding capacity limit. It is exactly 4 million weight units per block, no exceptions. Because space is so incredibly limited and demand almost always outpaces supply, miners have to act as economic gatekeepers. They aren't just going to grab packages at random, right? They're going to pack that tunnel with a specific combination of packages that makes them the most money. In other words, the packages with the absolute highest postage attached are the ones going first.
All right, Section 3, calculating your fee rate. Let's actually do the math behind that postage. So here is the golden formula you really need to memorize. Your fee rate equals your total fee, measured in satoshis, divided by the virtual size of your transaction, measured in vBytes. Listen, miners do not care about your total flat fee. Not at all. What they care about is how much you're paying per unit of weight. Think about it like this. A tiny little envelope paying a small absolute fee is going to easily beat a giant, heavy safe paying a much larger absolute fee. Why? Simply because the envelope's rate per vByte is higher. It is all about maximizing that revenue per block weight.
Let's actually look under the hood at what makes a transaction heavy. When we map out typical transaction components, you'll immediately see why your wallet's architecture really matters. Take a look at the inputs. A legacy input? It's pretty heavy, coming in at around 148 vBytes. But look right below that. A SegWit input drops that weight significantly, down to somewhere between 68 and 91 vBytes. And that's because witness data is heavily discounted when calculating virtual size. So using SegWit essentially shrinks the physical footprint of your package. A smaller virtual size means a lower required fee to hit that exact same priority fee rate. Structuring your wallet efficiently quite literally saves you money on postage.
Next up, Section 4, navigating the fee market and finding that clearing price.
Okay, here is the exact practical workflow you should be using every single time you send a transaction. Step 1. Approximate your vBytes based on your inputs and outputs, just like we talked about. Step 2. Check the current market demand to find the clearing price. And remember, the market fluctuates a lot. During periods of high demand, the required postage spikes. During lulls, it drops. You're aiming for a specific confirmation window here. And finally, Step 3, just multiply your vBytes by that market clearing fee rate, and boom, you've got the total satoshis you need to attach to your transaction.
But what happens if you get it wrong? Say you estimate 20 sats per vByte, but out of nowhere, a massive wave of network demand pushes the clearing price all the way up to 80. Well, your perfectly valid package is now just gathering dust in the mempool waiting room.
You are left nervously refreshing a block explorer for hours, sweating over your keyboard while your transaction just sits there. Honestly, it's kind of an agonizing Web3 rite of passage. But don't panic. Thankfully, we have solutions.
Which brings us to Section 5, fixing stuck transactions. Here's how to actually rescue your funds.
So we've got two essential cheat codes here: replace by fee, which we call RBF, and child pays for parent, or CPFP. Let's go back to our package metaphor for a second. RBF is like walking onto that loading dock, finding your original box, ripping off the old label, and retaping the exact same box with a whole lot more stamps. Simple enough. CPFP, though, is entirely different. Imagine you literally cannot touch the original box. Instead, you create a brand new, highly desirable child box, absolutely cover it in expensive stamps, and literally tape it right to that old stuck parent box. Miners are going to evaluate the combined postage of those two taped together boxes. If the average rate between them is high enough, both get pulled right through the tunnel. Just keep in mind, with either strategy, you are trading a higher overall cost for faster finality.
Let's break down exactly when you'd use which cheat code. RBF is your absolute go-to when you are the sender, meaning you actually control the inputs. Using it completely invalidates your original low-fee transaction. CPFP, on the flip side, is perfect when you're the recipient and you're waiting on unconfirmed incoming funds, or maybe you have a change output from a stuck transaction you just sent. The critical math to remember here is that your new child transaction needs a fee high enough to lift the combined average of both packages well above the market clearing price. You are going to see these RBF and CPFP mechanics pop up again and again as you get into advanced wallet architecture and Lightning channels. This is really foundational stuff.
Finally, Section 6, Key Takeaways and Next Steps. Let's wrap this up.
All right, let's quickly recap the core mechanical rules you absolutely need to remember from this explainer. First off, always prioritize your sat per vByte rate, not your absolute fee. That's the only number miners care about. Second, your transaction's virtual size directly impacts your bottom line, so optimize those inputs and use SegWit whenever you possibly can. Third, remember that the fee market is a highly dynamic beast. It's going to fluctuate. Treat your estimates as probabilistic predictions, definitely not as guarantees. And lastly, always have a backup plan. Construct your transactions expecting that you might just need to use RBF or CPFP to bump them if the network conditions suddenly change.
I want to leave you with this capstone thought today. Fee rate is the economic engine converting protocol validity into timely inclusion. Think about it. Your signatures and your scripts, they prove you are allowed to move the money. But your fee rate, that proves you are willing to pay the market rate to do it right now.
Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer by Forge College. Now that you know exactly how to navigate the mempool, I want you to ask yourself something. As block subsidies continue to halve over the coming decades, what actually happens when these transaction fees become the absolute only incentive keeping the miners' tunnels open? The economics are only going to get wilder from here. To explore the answer to that and to check out all of our other Web3 content, you've got to visit forge.college. Keep learning, keep building, and I will see you next time.